Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex. And today I want to talk about the best and worst characters that I believe you should take or not take to level 70. And I want to do this primarily because we now have 25 characters that can have their potential realized, which is a lot. And lately on my live streams, I've been wondering which character I should take to level 70 next. I know I have the luxury of a lot of resources and basically my pick of who to do first with lots of room for mistakes and error and kind of mismanagement or inefficiency, but to impart onto you guys which ones you should save your resources for if you only have a few, and also some reasoning and some logic behind some of these choices. But before we actually jump into the list and before we jump into all the details, I want to give you guys the heads up that the event quest is gonna run out. It's gonna end in an hour from when you're watching this video, so make sure you spend all of your tokens so you don't lose them. Back to the list. So we have 25 characters that you can bring to level 70. If you're not sure what that means, certain characters, and the list is pretty easy to find. You go over to the Marvel Universe tab, and any of the characters that have in the top left hand corner either a 3 or a 2, the jewel will change color depending on whether they are a mutant, a regular character, or tier 3 capable. So you're going to see some purple, you're going to see some red or blue, and you're going to see some orange as well. Those characters that you see there that have that little thing at the top left are able to get to level 70, and the way that you get them to level 70, for a really quick recap, is you go into World Boss or World Boss Ultimate, not World Boss Beginner, and you play the level with them on your team. They don't have to do damage, they don't even have to be in the fight, they just have to be on the team. They can't be a striker, but you don't have to tag to them, they don't have to hit the boss, and you will get some potential. And once it hits 100%, it's kind of random. You'll be able to unlock their potential. And what unlocking their potential essentially allows you to do is it allows you to level them up to 70. And we've gone over this issue and the kind of strategy involved with whether you want to do it at 100% or whether you want to do it at 50% success rate or 10%, if you want to try to spend more gold and save more black antimatter, or spend less gold but spend more black antimatter. I don't want to get into the details of all that. I've done other videos on that. But now I want to show you my list of what I believe to be the 25 from best to worst characters to get to level 70. Now here's the list, but of course I have to say with any of these kinds of things, it's extremely subjective. A lot of the characters that I put near the top of the list are also on the top or near the top because you can get them to tier 3, and that is the first step to getting a tier 3 character, because you have to get them to level 70 to get their gears to 25 to then unlock that final page. So he has level 70, he also has gear 25, and then I can also go to the tier 3 page. So you can't get here without all of those previous steps. If I go over to Iron Man, while I do have him level 70, I cannot go to this page because his gears are not all 25 yet. So I'm on kind of step 2 of the 3-step program to tier 3 Iron Man, which I'm not going to do. But that is the case for why some of these characters, possibly like Iron Man and Ant-Man, are near the top, despite the fact that they're probably worse than some of the characters lower. Does Ant-Man do more damage than Black Panther? Of course not. But they're on different parts of the lists for different reasons, and I'll explain that now. So the biggest thing I think recommending a character to get to level 70 to develop their potential and use the black antimatter and use the bios is of course for tier 3. So you're going to need to get Captain America to level 70 if you want to tier 3 him, just plain and simple, but he's also an extremely strong character. And so very, very strong characters are also very close to the top of the list because you want to keep competitive mostly for PvP. Now there isn't a huge, although there is a difference between a level 60 and level 70 character in PvE content, especially high level or high grade World Boss Ultimate fights. You're going to see much more of a balance change in like PvP modes like Timeline and stuff like that. So it's much easier to kill a level 60 Doctor Strange than a level 70 Doctor Strange. Now it may be hard to tell between level 60 and level 70 with 20 or 25 gears, so that is a possibility that you have to take into consideration, but just moving the character from level 60 to 70 does give a pretty reasonable stat boost, so you do have to deal with that. in addition to having some hit chance issues. So as we know, characters that are tier 1 level 60 and characters that are tier 2 level 60 have a hit chance difference. So you're not going to be able to hit a level 60 tier 2 character as often as you'll be able to hit a tier 1 level 60 character if you are tier 1 yourself. So when you're kind of punching up, you're gonna miss more often, and the same is true for level 60 versus level 70, but that is mostly what happens when you do a PvP, kind of player versus player interaction. So going through the list, it's pretty clear, those kind of first few picks: Thanos, Scarlet Witch, Captain America, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Winter Soldier. These are just very strong characters that you want to be as strong as possible. In the case of someone like Winter Soldier or Scarlet Witch, you may also be getting them to level 70 to get their gears to 25 so that you can get them ready for tier 3 should they get it later on in the future. And I know a lot of you diehard Switch fans are probably already doing that if you haven't finished, so that is also another reason to get a character to level 70 ASAP. But I think kind of the most important implications and information and tips that I can give you for some of these characters kind of lands somewhere in the middle. The middle of the list is where it starts to get a bit more controversial, a bit more subjective, and some people will say, no, I think Black Widow should be a lot higher. Oh, I think this character should be a lot lower. And here's the facts that I want to impart onto you. And I thought about this when I was getting my Loki to level 70 today. So my Loki gained about 1.7 thousand energy attack from level 60 to level 70, which is pretty good. And he gained an additional 2,000 HP. Now the HP is not that important for Loki, but the energy attack is, because he primarily deals damage through his clones, mind games, we all know that, and the more energy attack he has, the more damage his clones will do. So if you really want to use Loki for PvP, or you really want to use Loki for AC or World Boss Ultimate Ebony Maw, getting him to level 70 is going to be a reasonably good investment, because he's going to get a big energy damage boost, which he otherwise couldn't get if you've already maxed out his other avenues. You've given him a CTP of Transcendence, you've maxed out his uniform, you've maxed out his Uru, his ISO set, and so on. And so this represents kind of that final step. Of course, you can take it further by upgrading his gear, but that level 70 investment with the bios and the black antimatter or the gold is the first big step. So that's why I think it's valuable to consider characters that use clones to deal the primary source of their damage, which is why I wanted to highlight and mention Loki, Corvus, and to a lesser extent Ebony Maw. He only has one summon skill and it's not as important as some of these other characters, but it's still important to take into consideration. If you're kind of juggling, you're thinking to yourself, should I level 70 Corvus or Proxima? Corvus might actually give you a better investment overall because he gets such a huge HP and attack boost, and that benefits his clones, the Outriders, a lot, especially the HP, because they do have an HP bar. They're not ghosts the way that Loki's clones are. A couple of other characters that fall into this category are both Cull Obsidian, kind of the universal villain Hulk, and of course Hulk himself. A huge HP boost for these characters just by getting to level 70. Of course, they get another massive boost in HP when you upgrade their gears, especially this third gamma radiation gear for Hulk. But just again, simply getting them from level 60 to level 70, I know it's a huge investment for some of you. You have a few precious bios to spend, but you should consider these things because it does affect the character. It's going to make them much harder to kill in PvP game modes. Maybe if you're trying to get over that hump for a level 20 plus World Boss Ultimate, it'll give them the last push that they need. But it's a really important thing to keep in mind when making these decisions. The characters towards the bottom, I think, are characters that just don't benefit much from it or who just don't have a large impact right now. Groot, if you're playing him with his baby uniform, I put him at the bottom there because he's a support character. So having him at level 70, I do, but I kind of regret it, doesn't really help. It's not going to make his heals larger. It's only going to heal him more when he attaches himself to his heals. Whoa. Or when he collects a heal from another character, but it's not actually going to assist him or buff his support healing for other characters. Of course, it's going to help him if you're using his Teen Groot uniform to actually deal damage, but that's really not the best way to go about it because he's not a high damage dealing character in the first place, and he's probably one of the lowest damage dealing characters on this whole list, along with number 24, of course, Wasp. Wasp, I think, just doesn't get enough from her entire change with her uniform, and we've discussed this in other videos. But in addition to that, her main value as a PvP character is Winsome Wasp, and you know, it's pretty obvious that her level 70 versus level 60 does not affect that. Now, of course, getting her to level 70 will boost her defenses, will boost her HP, and yes, will make her even more annoying to kill. But it's going to boost her damage so incrementally, so small, in such a small way, that it's just not worth the investment, especially if you're the type of person that doesn't have a lot of investment or a lot of resources to invest. And that basically goes for most of these characters along this list. The only reason why I segregated certain characters, perhaps Proxima and Black Widow being lower than characters like War Machine and Rocket, is just because of their higher end potential for damage. In terms of burst damage potential, War Machine and Rocket have some of the best out of the kind of second wave of Infinity War upgrades. They're definitely not up there with Winter Soldier or Scarlet Witch, but they're still very respectable. And so being able to get them to level 70, pushing their offense a little bit further, will help a lot more in PvE game modes than PvP. So I know that I said for the first kind of 10 or 12 characters on the list that it's primarily for PvP when you're getting them to level 70, and you're going to see more of a return there. But it's also true for some of these characters in the middle and towards the bottom of the list that it's going to help them tremendously for PvE. And now I don't mean to say that any of these are bad characters to get to level 70. Of course, if you love them, of course, if you want them to be better, by all means do so. I just felt that it would help some people out to rank them categorically in terms of which are the best, just straight up the best characters in the game, given this list specifically of 25. Not all characters, not a snapshot. And also then which characters are going to get more out of it in terms of how it relates to their existing skill sets and their existing strengths, i.e. lots of HP to tank or clones to do most of your damage, in which case more attack is going to kind of double down and double boost your offensive abilities of your other stats in addition to your clones stats. So hopefully this list has given you a bit more clarity and a bit more direction on who you want to take to level 70 next. Of course, priority goes to characters that you want to get to tier 3 or characters that you think from this list will get their tier 3 skills sometime in the future, like Black Panther, or I know a lot of people have been hoping out for Black Widow and of course Scarlet Witch. But we'll have to see how it works, especially for the native tier 2s, and if we're going to need a whole new Titan record for them, and when we're going to get more Cosmic Cube fragments. But that's a conversation for another day. Let me know what you guys think of the list. Let me know who you're going to take to level 70 next, and who you think I should take to level 70 next. Subscribe if you enjoyed the content and you want to support me. Hit the bell if you don't want to miss any of my videos. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.